to start. I'd like to welcome everybody to the February 4th AFA committee orientation meeting. Our analyst, Maureen Dawson, is going to be doing some orientation for us today. So we're excited to be here for that. And so I think we'll just introduce ourselves for the public while we get started. So I'll start with Representative Millett.
Good afternoon. I'm Soren Millett. I represent House District 71, towns of Norway, Sweden, Waterford, and West Paris.
Thank you. And Representative Fay.
Good afternoon. I'm Jessica Fay. I represent House District 66, which is parts of the towns of Raymond, Poland, and Casco.
Representative Cardone.
I'm Barbara Cardone. I represent House District 127, which is part of Bangor.
Representative Cloutier.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair. I am Kristen Cloutier. I represent House District 60, which is part of Lewiston.
Representative Hymanson.
I'm Representative Patty Hymanson. I represent House District 4, which is parts of York, Wells, Sanford, and all of Ogunquit.
Representative Corey.
Good afternoon. I'm Patrick Hoy, represent part of Wyndham in the House.
Representative Martin. Oh, you're on mute, John.
John Martin, House District 151, Western Aroostook County.
And Senator Davis.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Paul Davis. I represent Senate District 4, which is all of Piscataquis County and parts of Somerset and Penobscot.
And Senator Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Donna Bailey. I represent Senate District 31, Saco, Old Orchard Beach, Hollis, Leamington, and part of Buxton.
And my good co-chair, Senator Breen.
Thank you. I'm State Senator Kathy Breen. I represent 6.5 communities in Cumberland County. I serve as Senate Chair of Appropriations. And Representative Peirce, I just want to let you know that Representative Arata signed on but was having some audio trouble. So she's getting a new device and she will be back shortly.
Great. We'll look forward to welcoming her at the time when she comes back. And I'm Representative Teresa Peirce. I represent House District 44, which is the majority of Falmouth, and I'm the House Chair of AFA. So I think we'll turn it over to Maureen Dawson to start our orientation. Thank you so much for all that you've done so far. We're looking forward to today as well.
Well, that's a little scary that somebody looks forward to orientation, but we'll see what we can do. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm Maureen Dawson with OFPR. And today is the orientation on navigating the budget documents. So I do hope you all have that with you because we're going to kind of flip through it from time to time. So in general, and you probably know this, but we have parts A and in this case part P that contains all in a biennial budget, all the departments and their associated programs in alphabetical order. So that really does help you navigate as you're trying to find something like Finance Authority of Maine. You just flip through at the very top, you see all the department names, Agriculture, Conservation, Department of, and then the programs within there. So that helps you, not speedy, at least it gives you a fighting chance of finding what you're looking for at any given time. So the part B contains reclassifications and range changes. And then of course you have your infamous language parts. So let's just look at page A46. I won't make you find everything alphabetically, but on A46, just as an example, as we go through the program summary, which is Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry, Division of Forest Protection. So if you look at that, you'll see it starts with the program summary. But above the program summary is a little blurb, tiny print, what the budget purchases. And that is certainly worth reading and sometimes is repeated in department testimony, but it gives you a good idea of what this program is about. So then you see these columns right below that, actual, current, budgeted, and budgeted. The first column is represents what the budget office says is actual expenses. I haven't been able to completely verify that, but I'm taking their word for it. They're smart people, and they're saying that those are actual expenses for the year, fiscal year 20. And the second column is current appropriations, and by current, they mean when they when they did this budget document, which, as you know, the whole process begins in the summer into the fall. So that current appropriations would not include anything that may have been done in a special session towards the end of summer, or anything you may do in an emergency supplemental budget this year. Obviously, they can't know what you're going to do with the supplemental. So you really can't affect that column now. The last two columns are the baseline budget. And the baseline budget is the starting point for the program's appropriations or allocations for the upcoming biennium. And there's nothing you can do to affect that column in your emergency supplemental budget. And that's why you sometimes will see initiatives from the supplemental budget repeated in the biennial budget, because it needs to get into the baseline for the next biennium. And the only way to do that is to repeat the initiatives. And there's an example of that on page A209. You want to flip that over. Page A209 repeats the waste motor oil disposal site remediation program. It eliminates that program that was proposed to, it still needs to
Maureen,
be
did we
addressed
lose you?
in the biennial budget. So that, oh, I hope not.
I think you
Am I
might
good?
have, did she freeze on everybody or just me? Yeah.
Yeah, I keep getting messages that my internet is, and here I am in the State House, that my internet is screwy. So
Well, maybe just start again at the top of A209 where you were talking about that. I think that's kind of where you went in and out. You're back
Okay.
now, so.
I'll try to stay back, but who knows? Okay, 209 has that waste motor oil disposal site remediation. That's what you saw on the supplemental budget. It's being repeated here because even if you pass it, it won't affect the baseline. So
Maureen, you're still going in and out on us a little bit. Would it help if we all went to virtual to our
let's try
pictures?
to go to screens off or to cameras off. That might help.
Yeah.
Everyone stop their video and we'll go from there.
Somebody's coming in. Wait,
Except
mask.
Teresa, I would actually suggest, Teresa, since you're kind of chairing, that you stay on.
I'll stay on.
Thank you.
You're so my pleasure.
You want to try that?
Actually, it might be Maureen who needs to turn her screen off.
Our technical expert Mandy has said that I should hop out and hop back in to see if that doesn't help. So
okay, we'll give you a minute for that.
If you got them. Yep, I'm going to get out and in.
I'll let you back in.
You don't have to.
I think we were joined by Representative Arata. Hello.
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Wonderful. Welcome, Representative Arata. Glad to see you, sort of.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I supposed to introduce myself or would
Feel
you?
free. Why don't you? We have a couple minutes or a couple seconds here. So.
Okay, my name's Amy Arata and I represent District 65, which includes New Gloucester and part of Poland.
Thank you. So it looks like Maureen is trying to log back in. We'll give that a couple seconds for the people listening at home.
Okay, let's see if this works now.
Welcome back.
So far? Okay, so
maybe it was just wastewater that we didn't want to hear about. I don't know. So
yes, such a waste. Okay, we'll try. Let's move on. That is the two columns are for the baseline budget, and you'll see a baseline for each fund within a program, like general fund, federal, OSR. You might want to note, though, that there may be multiple other special revenue funds in that section that you see. It says other special revenue funds. Some programs have more than one fund with different sources. and different uses. But you only see the roll-up. Departments are always quite willing to give you detailed information should there be an issue or you want to know what other special revenue funds are involved. So, with each fund type, you'll see, as applicable, you'll see positions, you'll see the legislative count, FTE, full-time equivalent, which is usually the seasonal positions.
Maureen, are you on a specific page that you're talking about or just in general?
I'm back on A46, the example page.
Thank you.
But you might see that just about anywhere.
For those playing along at home, so.
Yes. So.
Is that
So
A46?
you'll see that the head count.
Correct. A46.
A46, you're going to see head counts and you're going to see the line categories, personal services and all other, and you may see capital expenditures, but generally capital expenditures are assumed to be one-time only and do not enter the baseline. There is one deviation from that I'll point out a little bit later. So under positions, the baseline positions you see are generally the prior year's legislatively authorized positions, or FTE, unless a vacant position was eliminated to fund an approved reclassification or reorganization. And I know we've talked briefly about that, and I think Commissioner Figueroa talked a little bit about that, and there's a whole appendix in, I want to do this like Commissioner Figueroa did, the budget process that you all have. But we can talk a little bit at the end of this navigation, if there's time and interest, we can talk a little bit more about reclassifications and reorganizations if you want to. So there's two examples of a reduction that way. One of them is right here.
Uh-oh.
On page A46, look down at federal 3.23, and the baseline is 3.15. So my guess is that one of the.
Unfortunately, Maureen, you're going in and out on us again.
Positions was.
Maureen, you're going in and out on us again.
I don't know how to do this. If I should just hop over to Mandy's PC, and I hear her saying, yep.
Okay, well, we'll look for you to move to a new office. We'll see you shortly.
In the meantime, just study up. From your house? Well, we have an idea of why.
I actually couldn't hear what she was saying. Is she still on A46?
Correct. She is on A46.
Okay.
And there, she got muted. And she's moving to a different computer, I believe.
You know what's weird while she's moving is that, you know how you've got like positions, legislative count, positions, FTE count. It looks like those are in the lines that you're summing up on, but you're only summing up on the next 3 lines. Like, I don't know why that would be a part of the sheet. It seems like it's like separate data other than what you're totaling up.
I'm sorry, Representative Corey, I didn't follow along, but why don't we ask her that question when she's back up and going?
Okay.
Thanks. Well, you're in a new view.
That's weird.
Welcome back.
Another bit of technical help from our expert. And the weird thing is, I'm looking at a blank screen and all your faces are over here. So I'm just going to have to talk to a blank screen, which is actually, I've been married for 40 years. This is not that unusual.
Maureen, Representative Corey had a question.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Can everyone hear her? Senator Davis, can you hear okay? Can you hear Maureen? Can everyone hear Maureen?
Yes, I can.
Great, thank you for thumbs upping that. Super. Awesome, thank you. Hard to tell when you're thumbs upping if you stop video. Although you could use your little reaction screen, little thumbs up, happy face, something. I don't know. Just waiting for Maureen to get situated and we'll go back.
I'm back.
Oh,
you
wonderful.
Can hear me.
We absolutely can hear you and we can see you. You have a beautiful window behind you and
That's good. I can't hear you, but you can hear me, so that's a start. I love technology.
so you can't hear me, Maureen? I guess not.
All right. So I think I was at the offering to talk a little bit more about reorganizations at the end of this. I think that's where I ended up. So we were talking positions. Okay, personal services. Personal services line category, which is wages and benefits, has a built-in growth in the baseline. The personal services baseline is calculated using existing, filled, and authorized but vacant positions. For filled positions, wages are based on the incumbent's existing salary and accounts for their scheduled step increases. For new positions or vacant positions, the assumption is that the position will start at step 3 in the first year of the biennium and step 4 in the second year. The wages that are calculated from individual positions are then reduced by an assumed attrition, which currently is 1.6%, notwithstanding the language that you have to increase that. That post-attrition wage total is then marked up, for lack of a better word, with benefits. So some benefits are marked up on a percentage basis and some are flat. So some of the benefits that are included in personal services or a percentage are normal retirement rates, unfunded actuarial retirements, and those rates are given by main purse. And I think you remember Sandy giving you an orientation on that. Life insurance, which is a rate per $1,000 of salary, and Medicare. And then there's some flat charges like health insurance, which varies by salary, dental insurance, and workers' compensation, which varies by department. Now, these markups are estimates and they're updated for a given fiscal year or for the biennium in the case of normal retirement. And they tend to grow over the years. So those benefits on top of the wages that are assumed to increase mean that personal services baseline costs will grow between the current year and the first year of the next biennium and then the second year of the biennium. All other line category. So the baseline calculation for all other is a lot more straightforward than personal services. It's based on current year ongoing appropriations and allocations. So in the initiative descriptions, you often see the term one time or next biennium only or words to that effect. And there's an example of that on page A221, and I'm not sure you want to go there, but you can just take a quick look. A221. And that one has an initiative that reduces funding one time for employee mileage. And actually, you're quite familiar with one times because of seeing that in the supplemental budget. So that means that one time appropriation would not carry into the baseline in the next biennium. And so one time appropriations from the previous biennium do not carry into the current baseline that you're looking at. So the appropriations and allocations of the one-time are removed from all other in the next budget. But there are a couple of deviations from this that we noticed that we're looking into. And I don't know, you're gonna have to nod, Madam Chair, if you want me to point that out. I can't hear, okay. All right, so on page A3, page A3, you'll notice, and this is accident, sickness, and health insurance within DAFs. There is a allocation under in the third group. I think I'm being interrupted by our technical person. Yes.
I think I might be able to help you with the hearing.
She says she can help me with my hearing. I don't know if she means technically or my hearing.
Great.
If you click on.
I need my mask. Please, okay.
Click on that area right there, next to you. That is what it is, same as system.
Oh, well.
This is difficult because people don't know what page you're on.
So can you hear me now, Maureen
Because I'm not
and
saying
Mandy?
Yeah, do you want to say it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And they're gonna save questions till the end, and then I'll let you know. And then maybe we'll have you switch over so that you can hear them.
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
So Maureen, can you hear us right now?
Okay, so my understanding is you're not always knowing what page I'm on. I apologize for that. So the page I just sent you to is page A3. And we're looking at accident, sickness, health insurance. And we're just looking at the third program summary down. It's the accident, sickness, health insurance, internal services fund, in which there's an all other baseline that exceeds the current. And we believe that that's simply an error that will be taken care of in the change package. But I did want to point that out because having said what all other baseline, how it's derived, if you saw that, you might question it. And there is one other on page A242. Page A242, general assistance reimbursement to cities and towns. Again, we noticed that the baseline in the general fund, which is right up at the top, the current is 12,148,000 and the baseline is 10,398,000. Luke is going to work with the department to look into that. We did not think there was any one-time appropriation in 2021 that would cause the baseline to drop again, but we could just have missed it or something. So we will be looking into that. Just letting you know. So let's see, capital expenditures line category. We can go back to the original page A42, but it may not need it now. Sorry. I'm sorry, A46, but in any event, the capital expenditure line categories are for acquisition of equipment with a useful life, I think, of 1 year and costs over $5,000, or for real property, or for improvements to capital assets that materially increase their useful life. The normal things you see in accounting for capital. The appropriations and allocations in this line category are assumed to be one time and are not reflected in the baseline budget. But there is a deviation in that as well. On page A358,
While you're
under courts, Supreme Superior within the judicial department, we did notice that the capital expenditures in other special revenue, you see an actual of 300,000 and a current appropriation or allocation of 300,000, and it is carried into the baseline for 21 and 22. And we are looking into why that might be. It could be a logical explanation having to do with it being a judicial branch, or it could have been just, an error. The more I delve into this budget, the more in awe I am of how complex, difficult, and it is. And to see an error or two, if that's really what it is, would
Yeah.
not be at all surprising. Or
She can't hear me,
reflected all
so
on the budget office or the.
let me wait.
But we'll look at that.
Mandy, could you let her know that we would have a question,
So
or
then
we
you may
need?
see in the budget, you may see a couple places
Hold your
where
question
there
till
is
the end.
no baseline
Not
budget
a
at
question,
all.
it's just this
And there
process.
are two situations in which that could occur. One is when the administration is proposing a new program. My technical again.
They want to stop.
Okay. I'm sorry
Yeah.
if that's the technical issues, and hopefully we
So-
can do this.
There's got to be a
better
way for us to
situation.
hear her.
Yeah,
And those ghosts-
Representative, could you just hold for one moment, please, so I can let people out in the world who are watching us understand what we're going through. So we're having some real technical difficulties on this call with our analysts being able to hear us and see us. And so she's not aware when we're raising our hands or when I'm talking even, right? So it was hard. We can't just interrupt her because she doesn't realize I'm talking. So this is of course very hard for us trying to learn something, but also for her because we're in this strange situation. So Maureen, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I switched back to the internet, so unless I'm breaking up, I can hear you.
Okay. And
Madam Chair?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, if we could just have just a couple minutes with Maureen, we're gonna try to fix her so that she can hear.
More than a couple minutes, I can tell you that.
I mean, fix her machine. So that she can hear and we can hear her. So if you could just give me just a couple minutes.
Absolutely. Is it
Okay.
a possibility to pause our live stream while that happens?
I can't pause it, but we can actually, if everyone could just go off their cameras and mute, I can just put a message up that we're on break.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So Madam Chair?
Teresa,
Maureen, what do we think?
Well, I am willing to soldier on out here in Mandy's PC if you're willing to stay with me.
So I think my good co-chair and I had a little conversation while we were away. I think we'll give it one more try.
Okay.
But if we run into any technical freezing or difficulty, we might adjourn this meeting and look to do it another time. So I want to just share that we're doing an orientation about how to navigate through our large biennial budget book. We're doing some things where we're going down line items, and Maureen, you're illustrating what those things mean and having us turn to different pages, etc. If you could give us a little time when you ask us to flip pages to get there before maybe you launch in, and maybe a description of where you are on each page, that would be incredibly helpful. So I'm encouraged that you haven't frozen on us yet, and I'd welcome back other committee members to tune back in. I feel like we're currently on I don't know what page we're on. I think A47, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But take it away and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we'll just get our bearings here. I just finished the line category of personal services and talked about how the wages were based on actual positions or authorized vacant positions, on the steps, the future steps, and then talked about how they were marked up with the benefits, both the percentage benefits and the flat fee benefits. And I believe then I went to all other line category and said that it was based on the appropriations that were ongoing in the previous year, and then showed you a couple of anomalies. Is that kind of where you thought we left off?
I think that's a good analysis of that. I'm getting background noise in wherever you are.
Yes, I'm at Mandy's PC, so this is what the poor woman goes through all the time with people in and out.
Okay, so I don't think it's any of us, but it's happening there. So what page would you like us to turn to as we begin this process again?
So I had just talked a little bit about the anomaly found in general, in the HHS program, general assistance. And I just pointed out that we think that there may be a problem. It could be something we're just missing as to why the.
So can I interrupt you? Because I don't know what page we're on.
Right. That's where I wanted to know where we left off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so A242, I think, was where I left off.
A242, great.
42.
242.
Thank you.
So on page A242, we see the all other. The current is 12 million, and the budgeted for the baseline is 10 million. And we were unsure why it dropped. Normally, when you see a drop like that, it's because there was a one-time appropriation in that current year that doesn't get carried into the baseline. We weren't sure that that's the case here, and we are looking into that, whether the baseline should be higher or not. So that's just a caveat.
Great. That's an example of an anomaly that we'll want to pay attention to.
Correct. But for the most part, if you see a drop in the baseline from the current year, it's because of one-time appropriations getting pulled out or allocations. And then I believe I did go over capital, but I don't know how much of that you've all picked up. So capital expenditures, let's go back to page A47.
So just give us a chance to get back there.
I'm sorry, A46, my apologies. But you really don't need a page, but it's kind of fun to look at something.
I'm a visual learner, so.
Yeah. So I'll repeat the capital because this is where everything started to go south. Well, actually, they were south to begin with, but the capital expenditures are acquisition of equipment with a useful life of over a year and a cost of over $5,000, or real property or improvements to those capital assets that increase their useful life, which is the basic accounting.
Can you stop just for 1 second? Representative Heimlinson, are you?
Yeah, I'm not sure where you are on A46.
I'm not anywhere. I'm not anywhere.
So
this is just what capital is.
So but that definition is in the budget book that she showed up a little while ago about what it means to be a capital expense.
Correct.
So she's looking at the first section where it says capital expenditures. You can see $100,000 is the number. And she's just verbally telling us what it means to be a capital expense.
Right. This applies capital expense anywhere in this book, but yeah, that is just an overview, right?
Does that answer your question, Representative Hymanson?
Yeah, that looks like it's on A47.
Yep, but it's also everywhere. You'll see in the budget, you'll see capital expenditures everywhere.
Okay, I don't see that on A46. So you're showing us something on A46.
Well, you do see in other special revenue under A46, or if you look at even general fund, you see legislative count, you see FTEs, personal services, all
Yes,
other.
Yeah.
And capital expenses.
So if you could just say, it's helpful if you just say the first line or something, or the fourth line or something like that.
Okay. Yes.
So my eye has to travel up and down a lot of small print and hard to get to it. So that would be helpful.
Fair enough, but I'm not really going to discuss that particular capital expense, but yes, fair enough. Fair enough.
You're using it as an example, but I think
yeah, that's just so you can look at something. But yes, you'll see that in that order, in every single fund, in every single program. That's the order that you'll see appropriations and allocations in.
Excuse me, Teresa?
Yes, Representative Cardone. Don't forget to raise your hands, okay? So I can understand if you have a question. But Representative Cardone?
Yeah, my video is off, so I couldn't raise my hand visually. It can't be turned on. I mean, I can't turn it on. You've turned it off, or somebody's turned it off.
Oh, I did not think I did that, but.
It says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
Okay. We'll figure out how to, oh, there you are.
Okay. The other thing is, Maureen, I am having a great deal of difficulty hearing you, in part because I have a terrible audio on the computer that I'm using. But are you in a space where you can take off your mask?
I am not, because I moved to Mandy's place and she is in the reception area.
Okay.
I will try very hard to speak up and get everybody to hear.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yes, I apologize. I really hope that this would go a little better because I really want you to absorb this information, but nevertheless, we'll muddle through it. And also I can send you this in writing too, so you can look at this at your leisure.
We'll also have the opportunity to be with you in front of our budget books as we go through this entire process. So anytime anyone has a question about any of these things, we obviously have the opportunity to stop and take a moment and reiterate that or explain it yet again. So Representative Millett, did you have a question? I'm glad to see your face.
I didn't really have a question, but I'm feeling for Maureen in her jumping back and forth to illustrate anomalies. We're losing a focus on definitions and how to handle the book itself. And I don't know, Maureen, whether it would be easier for you to put in writing what you said at the beginning. What happens to the personal services lines in the base year, in the biennium, and what modifications occur? So we could all start with the baseline numbers in each program and understand what causes it to grow, what causes all other to stay flat unless there is a one-time back out or a reason for it growing, and that capital always stays at zero unless there's a new initiative to change it. So I think that was my hope in what would occur today, is that you just give us a primer on how to look at the paperwork as we start with an agency at the very high level and look at it before we start seeing the testimony and realize that the baseline is in accordance with some definitions. The initiatives are what we will hear the testimony on that modify the baseline. So I don't want to say any more, Chairperson, but I think that's what our new members really need. The last thing they need is to be jumping around and looking at a page and being unable to find it, where Maureen is trying to show us something is different here than the usual, and we don't know what is the reason for it. You see what I mean, Maureen?
I do. And I will stop giving you anomalies. The reason I did is I worried that I would give you this rule of thumb, you would see an anomaly and you would either negate what I tell you about the rule of thumb, or you would just disregard everything. So if you can know that there are some anomalies, if you see an anomaly, we can work through it, or it might be covered in testimony. I will no longer do that. And I'm sorry.
That's okay. Are you all, I didn't want to interrupt you. Good. I think Representative Millett brings up some great points about how to just look at each of these line items. And I do think that page A46, the very top of the Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry Department, has this summary that's going on, and it's talking about all of these elements. And maybe just walking through one more time, I think what Representative Millett is getting to is like the positions, the full-time equivalent count, personal services, what causes that to change, what's in all other, some examples of that, and then you can talk again about the capital. So if we might just reiterate all that for the group. Is that what you're thinking, Representative Millett? Sort of that high level? Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You're on point with what I was trying to get at, and I don't want to confuse this any further, but what I would start with, if we wanted to look at agriculture as a department, and you went back to page A40, you would see the total baseline for the department, and it would show you in the aggregate, if you were to look at the top of the page A40, the department has 403 authorized headcount, and that changes to 404.5 in the second year, and we'll have to listen to the testimony to find out why. There's a half a head count in the first year of the biennium and a full 1.5 in the second year. The position total doesn't change, so that's the question of difference between legislative count and FTE, which we're going to need to know the inside scoop on. But look at the, again, the personal services change dramatically from 21 to 22. And it's because of what Maureen said at the beginning. All of the positions, those 403 or the 122 FTE, may have step increases. They are affected by attrition. They're affected by the main PERS cost. So there's a lot of built-in material. And when you get through each program, after the initiatives, it will have a summary of what that baseline will look like if the initiatives were voted. So she started with forestry. If you looked at the bottom of the forestry section, which really ends on page A49, you would see the summary from the beginning of forestry to the end. That baseline adjustment is what it would look like as a program after the initiatives. I know I'm probably talking too much in terms of what to look for once we get into the midst of the hearings. But
Correct.
it is complicated. I don't want people to get discouraged just because we're looking for anomalies when we really could be looking to understand how to read this and how to look for it when we get really after the hearing, after the report backs, what do we have in front of us?
Mhm.
And how can we relate it to what we started with and what's being proposed in the budget and those changes that are in the initiatives? But we need a lot of this, and a lot of it's going to happen as we get into the hearings, and we can ask each other questions and get answers from Maureen and Kirsten Figueroa and the department heads, because we're going to have to ask a lot of questions. And the testimony may not give us the answers up front, so we need to know how to ask the questions. Why is this personal services so much of an increase? What happens in the FTE or the legislative count? Why are they different? Those things we'll all learn to ask as we get a little experience. But at the outset, they scare you because they are so, there are so many questions that come to mind until we have the answers.
I can't wave my hand, but
Yes, Representative Martin.
I can't get on for some reason.
Yeah, I'll ask Mandy to fix that for us. I think that's.
I've noticed, especially in the department and here while we're looking at, you'll see an awful lot of changes where the money, positions are coming out of the general, of special category, and they're shifting them to the general fund. And I'm not sure why they're doing that, because obviously we'll have to ask a question, but it seems to me that they're shifting and giving where is that money going that was in those various accounts. And now the general fund's going to be picking up most of forestry, which should not be, by the way.
So you're taking us down a little bit into the budget, but I think I want to stop where Representative Millette sort of gave an overview that sort of coincided with what Maureen was talking about, and see if there are just any questions from people who are not as familiar. So Representative Hymanson.
So if you could answer, why is the legislative count different from an FTE count? Why would that be so?
Legislative count is generally year-round, either full-time or part-time. FTEs are generally seasonal, and they're based on the number of hours. So you take the number of hours a position is budgeted for example, a ranger or somebody that works only in the summer. You take those hours, divide it by 2080, which is the amount of hours assumed in a full-time position, and that becomes a fraction and that FTE. So the FTEs you see are a total of all of the fractions of all of the people who are working seasonally.
And so
you have a follow-up?
So legislative count is?
Or regular year-round, either full or part-time. So generally a full-time person is one legislative count.
Okay.
But I wanted to also, in here, I wanted to point out that, and maybe I did, through all of the craziness, that when a position is divided between two or more funds, like sometimes a position does some things in general fund and some things in federal, that position count will be in the fund generally that they are budgeted to have the most hours in. So if you're working 75% federal and 25% other special revenue, you'll see one whole position in the federal. So, and that can come up when you're seeing reallocations, et cetera. It looks funny until you remember that a position is only in one fund. They don't split it.
Yeah.
Representative Fay?
I was just trying to figure out a way to think about this differently for myself. So Maureen, tell me if I'm thinking about this the wrong way. Is it, I mean, you talk about seasonal, would it be safe to think of it more about like salary versus hourly? Is that another way to think of? No,
it isn't.
Okay.
It is, yeah. But certainly that is one distinct, and especially in the private sector, you see that a lot. But in this case, it's basically year-round versus seasonal.
Got it.
Any other questions right now? Maureen, were there other specifics that you were thinking about sharing with us today?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not done. I was going into a couple of situations in which you don't see a baseline budget because either the program is new or because the program had been terminated and you only see like an actual, but you don't see anything going forward. New programs have initiatives that tell you what they're going to do, so that you may have your program summary 0 in baseline, and then you'll see in the end, you'll see the total that's not 0. And the ones that have been terminated are not part of the public hearings. In other words, that ship sailed. If you want that program back, you have to create a new initiative. And then I was going to go a little bit into the types of initiatives if you are interested.
Sure.
So I'm just going to go through the types of initiatives. If anybody wants to see an example of that type, I can direct you to a page, but I don't really want you to be flipping around if you don't want to. So I'm just going to list types of personal services initiatives. There's initiatives that establish a position, eliminate a position, create and fund a limited period position, continue a limited period position, or make permanent a previously authorized limited period position. And there's ones that decrease or increase the hours of a legislative count or an FTE, increase the hours of an FTE, or maybe make a legislative count, a year-round position, go from half-time to full. You'll see ones that transfer positions to different programs. You see them that reallocate positions between funds. You see ones that fund approved reclassifications with or without an offset to all other. You see ones that propose reclassification of a position where it's not employee initiated, so there's no retroactive. And you see sometimes, and this is the part that confuses all of us, you see combination of all three in one initiative. And sometimes those are very hard to parse out, and some of them, I don't recommend you even try, because we can do it, especially in Department of Education has a lot of those types. Rachel does a very good job of getting down to what gets parsed out. I can send you to one of those if you want to look at it.
I think your description was good. I don't know that we need to flip to a page unless people are feeling that. Raise your hand if you want to flip. You'd like to flip to a page?
Do you want to do that, Representative Hymanson? Okay.
Tell us a page to flip to.
Okay, let's go to A156. Just in the middle of that page, you'll see a huge initiative with a lot of language, and it does a lot of things. It continues a position. Let's see. And that mostly continues position, and it also has a blurb at the end that says, this initiative reduces funding in another program. It's one of those examples of combining initiatives that I'm not sure, we're not always, it's not always clear to us why it's combined. But there's another page then that has the part that is facilities, safety, and transportation, and a whole nother page for all of the others. So page A172 is the same initiative.
So when we're going through the budget process and we come upon one of these, and Representative Millette and I shared education last year, we really had to sort of dig in and create almost a separate spreadsheet to sort of understand what this was doing. It depends, and there were a lot of these in our last biennium with the Department of Education, because they were moving people around and trying to figure out where people landed. So don't feel that you have to be able to decipher this blippy just as it is. That's what OFPR can help us do. So we went back to Rachel, who's the guru of DOE, and said, you know, tell us what's really going on here and how does it affect other parts of the budget? So you could see kind of a side by side of where these things were happening. So even though you see this on here sort of in, you know, all of its glory of a paragraph with about 3 or 4 things going on, don't feel you have to completely understand that without really pulling the string and understanding what happened. So is that a fair assessment of how that might work?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's partly what makes people afraid of the budget when they see things like that, but it's always doable. And if we can't do it, then the departments are generally very, very good about working with us to parse it out. And just know that sometimes these combination initiatives are not a all or nothing. You know, as you parse it out, you might actually want a piece of it and not do something else. And so they sometimes can be split, although it's generally good to talk to the department to find out why they combined it. Maybe there's something about it that if you don't do this, you don't do that because it'll screw us up really bad. So just saying. So that's one of the funnest parts about the budget is those interesting initiatives. So more just the rest of personal services initiatives. Part B contains the reclassifications that are self-funded, either because they offset with other special revenue, or because, I mean, they offset with all other, or because they have enough money in another special revenue account or a federal account to pay for the reclassification. That's just all of Part B in a nutshell. And we generally, and I believe it's true this time, Part B is not heard in a public hearing because there's just not enough to go by for anybody to make a comment. And they're generally, these are part of reclassifications. If they're employee initiated, and they're approved through the union contract, it does have to be done. So that's just something that's almost pro forma. But of course, information on these Part Bs is available from the departments, I'm sure, if you have any issues at all. So a little bit about the all other initiatives. And then there's all other initiatives that do appropriations and allocations that are associated with new positions. Sometimes new positions require all other to support it, or they're associated with eliminating a position, which is less common. There's increases in allocations associated with stay cap costs, and stay cap costs are explained in that budget manual. And again, I'd be happy to talk about stay cap at the end of this if you're interested. There's one-time spending or savings initiatives that we talked about that don't affect future baseline, and ongoing. And initiatives are assumed to be ongoing unless stated otherwise. So if you see something and it doesn't say one time or this biennium only, then assume it's ongoing unless you make a change. You know, you can take any initiative and vote to amend it to be one time, or vice versa, except capital. So then there's the capital expenditure initiatives, and they're very straightforward. We talked about what capital expenditures were, but that was during the confusing times. Does anybody have any questions about capital expenditures? Okay. One thing about capital expenditures that's interesting is that funds by financial order, and we've talked about financial orders in previous things, they can be moved from all other to capital expenditures. So just know that because something wasn't put in the budget under capital, it doesn't mean it can never be spent. Just kind of a side. Then there's statewide and department-wide programs, which you'll see. And I'm going to send you to page A104.
So we have two different things in here. Are you going to be talking about county jails or about the
I'm going to talk
department-wide?
about department-wide overtime at the bottom
Excellent.
of page A104. Just to show you, department-wide and statewide initiatives are distributed through financial orders. So you here in 104, it gives permission, or it gives an account to corrections that says you can use this for your overtime costs. You don't have to come to the legislature every time you have unexpected overtime costs. And it can be distributed to the proper prison facility or wherever it's needed by financial order. And if this is a perennial, and it's never, does not say one time when it was originally established, so that there is no initiative, but it's in the baseline. It's in the baseline because it's an all other expense that was ongoing in past budgets, and it stays ongoing.
Any questions about that section? Seeing none.
So then I want to draw your attention. Let's go back to A48, or I'm sorry, A46, where we were when we started. So we see on A46 that program had a baseline. It has some initiatives that changed the baseline. And then at the end on page A49, you see a revised program summary. So for that program, it tells you, take the baseline, you take all the initiatives, and here's how it ends up. If you accept every initiative in the governor's proposal, this is what this program will have for appropriations and allocations and headcount in the next biennium. So you can look at that to see the full effects in a program of everything that you may have voted in. I just want to say a final word about initiative language, and that's otherwise known as what we fondly call blippies. If you hear that term, it's not obscene. It's a word we use, term of art. The budget proposal is a concept draft now, and that makes it easier to work quickly. But it's a concept draft. It hasn't been vetted by the revisor's office. So the wording, the punctuation, etc., within the blippy language may be changed by the revisor's office to make corrections for spelling, clarity, etc. So, and in rare cases, an identical, you might see a merging of two identical initiative languages in the same program. You're going to see this in the supplemental. I'll show it to you when it happens. It merges them because there's no difference between the two. The system just does it. So what I'm saying is there's slight differences between what you're hearing and what comes out of a committee amendment due to the revisor's office making these types of corrections. So I just want you to know that. But the revisor's office, as you know, they're very careful. They have a lot of experience in making edits that don't do anything to change the intent. And they work with OFPR, and they sometimes work with the administration to make sure if they ever have any doubt that what they're doing would change the intent. So it's the same process you see in other bills. So then I just want to turn a little bit quickly to language. And I think this was touched on in one of your previous, maybe during the supplemental hearing, that the language consists of allocated and unallocated language. Allocated language adds to or changes the main revised statutes. And these sections are part of the general long-lasting applications. Things that are permanently changing law mostly go into allocated language. So if there's something like, for example, a reporting requirement that you want to see done in perpetuity, it's best in some ways to put it in allocated language, because then it becomes part of statute and it's there for everybody to know to do forever. Unallocated language, so temporary provisions of public law, such as like the transfer of funds, lapse balances, or establishing a bureau that's not covered in statute. So it's really kind of temporary. And unallocated language is usually found at the end of a language part. So the order is they do allocated, they change statute first, then they do unallocated language that does some of those things, or housekeeping provisions, like a effective date that's different than the effective date of the bill as a whole. So this, and then one final thing about that is the caveat I gave about the Blippi language is true with the language you're seeing here. It has not been reviewed by revisers in the form of the budget document. And they will edit and work with the departments or work with administration or work with us when they fix the language parts so as to make them acceptable to the reviser of statute, who has the final authority on these things. So again, what you're seeing and what you're voting on may not be exactly the wording that you'll see in the published committee amendment. But that, again, that's true with all bills. So that's finally, I'm sure is how I wanted to present the budget. I apologize for the confusion from trying to give you anomalies. I had only your best interest at heart, but sometimes my best interest is your best interest and not coincide. So
you always have our back and our best interest at heart, so not a problem there. I think certainly the technical difficulties just threw a little wrench in that, but I'm glad we got it cleared up. And I'm glad we were able to reorient ourselves to have some sort of really meaningful definitions get out there and understood. Do any of the committee members have questions right now about what we went over? Not the first time or the last time. We'll be talking about these. They come up, all of it comes up all the time. So any questions? I'm not seeing any from the committee. Madam Co-Chair, do you have any? Oh, go ahead, Maureen.
I just want to make sure people were okay with the term state cap. Like I mentioned it, and again, it's in the budget process document if you need to look at it there or talk to me about it. And that's the same with the positions, the reclassification versus reorganization. We can talk about it individually here or just refer to the budget process manual.
Great. Any questions or thoughts, Madam Co-Chair, as we sort of wrap up this tutorial and navigation? Stay tuned. There will always be opportunity for more, but I think this gave us a nice sort of overview, and I appreciate everyone's patience as we sort of dealt with the technical difficulties. And I really appreciate OFPR giving up their front room, so to speak, where the copier is and everyone's walking through, because I know that puts a hindrance on what they're able to do while we're doing this. So I want to thank them for that. Going forward with scheduling, I'm trying to remember what day it is today, the 4th. And I think we're looking next week to continue with our caucuses around the supplemental. I noticed in my inbox this afternoon, I haven't quick checked lately, but I know that state and local sent us their report back. I think we're looking for, oh yes, Maureen.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt about that, but I think what we'll do with report backs is that all the report backs will come to OFPR, and we will then put them together and send you the report backs, the PDFs, all at once, unless somebody objects. And when we get as much as we get on Friday afternoon, we'll send them all back to you at once. We're going to print them out and put them in your desks in the back, because I think it's very helpful to have the printed copies.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think that's great. I think whatever we have on Friday, I wouldn't want to wait for everyone to get it in case somebody's running late or something.
Right.
But I think what you have by the end of the week, getting to us via email, and then we'll know that those will be on our back chairs the next time we're up at the State House for a hard copy. That'd be great. So I think we're stay tuned for when we might be on mic again, but right now I think we're working within our caucuses and getting those report backs and trying to have an understanding of what each policy committee thought of their section of the budget. Madam Chair, anything additional? Co-chair? Co-chair Breen, Senate Chair Breen.
No, thank you.
Great. Any questions from our colleagues on the committee right now? Well, thank you, Maureen. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Chris. I saw him working on it as well. Had a few glitches, but we persevered through, and we'll all be in touch. Until then, have a great afternoon, and I hereby call this meeting adjourned.
I'll let you.
Bye-bye.